Good morning, everybody. It's been a few days. It's been a very busy week for me. And I'm coming to you today for a weekly update because there are constant updates going on. If you follow X, Twitter, or if you follow anything on Rumble, like And We Know, and let's see, Drew Peters, or Stu Peters, rather, forgive me, or Lindell TV from Mike Lindell. It is a constant update and it's hard to keep up. So I'm coming to you today, this morning, to just kind of give you an update on all that is going on at the moment. And then this afternoon, Tracy and I should be meeting again with you live. We will come on to YouTube to let everybody know on YouTube where we will be going. We probably will end up on Rumble because it's going to be a very open conversation, and we're just not going to want to speak in code. Sometimes you have to do that on certain platforms. I have to admit that YouTube has been a little more lenient about the language, but I don't want to take any chances. So let's start off with a few things on a bright note. It seems that Trump is proposing a tax-free income for those earning under $150,000 a year. The U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has revealed that President Donald Trump aims to implement a policy where no taxes would be applied to individuals earning less than $150,000 annually. This proposal is part of a broader discussion on tax reform, which includes considerations like external revenue taxes to fund government operations instead of traditional internal taxation. It's funny that they say that because I had just spoken to somebody recently who was kind of concerned, if we were to rid of, let's say, the IRS altogether, how would we be able to take care of those veterans, widows, or the Medicare, or the people who are disabled? And so they're proposing here that the money that comes in from the other countries, assumingly through tariffs and whatnot, that would be what supplies those benefits to the American public, instead of it being internal, which has been going on for many, many years, many decades. And to lower the taxes for the American public, that change would have to take place. We also have something going on here at the Columbia University. He's a graduate. Recently, ICE has taken him into custody. They're revoking his green card. Mahmoud, Khalil, a legal permanent resident of the U.S. So see, he's here legally. Okay, he's being detained at the moment because of his protests against Israel military action in Gaza. The Trump administration has initiated proceedings to deport him, citing his support for Hamas as a reason for revoking his green card. Let me say something to you. It's obvious that this group, Hamas, is a violent group. They've killed children. They think nothing of it. Now, some may say, well, Israel did the same. Israel did what they did in defense. Okay, now I'm a Christian. Of course, naturally, I'm going to support Israel. I do not support the government of any country, pretty much, except for our own right at the moment. But I do support the people, and I do support God's love for that land. So yes, I do agree with our government making this decision. You may also find this interesting. The FAA supervisor accused of cheating scandal in air traffic control hiring. Now, this just explains why all the planes are falling out of the sky. Okay, Shelton Snow, an air traffic operations supervisor at the FAA, has been accused of offering minority air traffic controller candidates answers to their entry exam. This incident came to light through an alleged leaked audio where Snow, also a prominent figure in the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees, is heard promising assistance to candidates. The controversy has raised concerns over the integrity of hiring processes within the aviation sector and the broader implications for DEI. DEI is garbage. Everybody and anybody, I don't care who you are, what your color is, what your gender is, height, weight, it doesn't matter as long as you are hired upon merit. It should always be about merit because it's unfair for the person who took out the time to learn the skill or to learn the industry. It's just unfair. I would prefer to go to for example, a doctor who knows what they're doing, not has been hired because of his skin color or his nationality background. That doesn't make him or her a good candidate for that position. That goes for every position. A paramedic, for example, do you want a paramedic working on you during an emergency who is hired based on what they look like? Or would you rather it be on merit? This nonsense thinking has got to stop. It's insanity. It really has become insanity. We're going to talk about that in a second. Alina Habba unleashes on Jill Biden for her fraudulent Save the Children organization, all the while enabling the largest child trafficking operation in history. So Alina Habba seems to be unleashing a lot lately. She's going after the Epstein people. She's also going after the Biden administration big time. So God bless her. We have here Representative Darrell Issa has formally requested the Trump administration to open up an investigation into Act Blue, accusing them of potentially accepting payments from a, I don't even know if I could say the word here, TERROR organization. Act Blue is said to be linked to financing attacks on the Tesla showrooms and Elon Musk, among other violent protests across the country. This is nothing short of a criminal enterprise. I absolutely agree. Let's see here. We've got Goldman. So this would be threatens Elon Musk with being taken to court over a U.S. aid audit. Goldman was caught with over 30 million in nonprofit funds stashed in offshore Cayman Islands account. That would be Goldman Sachs, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's running for the hills that they have been making. You know how these millionaires and billionaires became millionaires and billionaires? By robbing us. Isn't that fabulous? With that, USAID is telling people to prepare for an all-day shredding event to burn and shred all of documents, USAID documents. This isn't a parody. They're deleting history in real time. This is what they're doing. Going back to Alina Habba, I told you she was going after a lot of people, claims that a large batch of Epstein documents are under review and prosecutions are pending. AOC has also been slapped with an ethics complaint for misusing expenditures for official duties on 2 dance instructors. Could you imagine that? I mean, listen, if you make a paycheck and you could spend it on anything you want, that's fine. But it seems like what she's doing is she's misusing money that does not belong to her. It belongs to the taxpayers for her own. She likes dancing. She wants to spend it on 2 dance teachers. That's great. But that's not legal and it's not ethical. And that's why she is being slapped with an ethics complaint. The amount seems to be about $4,500, a little over $4,500. Wall Street Mav says the amounts the Biden people in the White House are sending to the legacy media to help keep them solvent in supporting the far left narratives. Now, I want to give you an idea about this, okay? For the people who are screaming and yelling, I didn't vote in Elon Musk, I didn't vote in Elon Musk. Well, let me tell you where our money was going to. Propaganda, filling your head with lies, mainstream media. Politico, 34.3 million, New York Times, 50 million, Associated Press, 19.5 million, Reuters, 9 million, BBC, 3.3 million. And you may say, well, they're news agencies, they depend on that. Why do I have to pay them? I'm a conservative. How many conservatives are there in this country who don't even look at, read, or pay attention to any of these outlets? And yet they're making all this money on tax funds. It makes no sense. We also know that they do not spew the truth. They spew garbage. So I wouldn't want to spend that money on them. So let me talk about, real quick, influencers. So that's the news I have right there for today. It's so much, so much, so much. I could go on for an hour. But I just wanted to give you some headlines of what's going on at the moment. It seems that there are influencers, mostly on TikTok. Okay, they used to be here on YouTube. It was big on YouTube, and they kind of moved over to TikTok. I think because it's easier to grab people's attention on TikTok. It's quick, it's swift. You just have to. You could build an audience pretty fast at TikTok. Okay, and I don't even know why. I think it's just the way it's built. A lot of garbage over there. I got to tell you, I know I've said that before. But there are people who've got 15, 16, 17 million followers over there. So they make a decent amount of money. I would say a lot, but decent. And they push, it's almost like watching the Kardashians. They push this fake wealth and fake product advertisement. It's like going right back to what we've been watching on television for years. They're being found out now, they're being exposed. And what I have to say about that is there's a lot of pushback on this right now. There's a lot of pushback on the exposure. Nobody knows who to trust on the internet. And I don't blame them. In regards to product advertisement, in regards to showing your lifestyle, I'll give you an example for one. There's a company called Asplund, if you've ever heard of them. They have these big orange trucks all over the country. And they usually are the ones who trim the trees in main areas and whatnot, and they keep the areas safe of trees and limbs, touching our electric wires and whatnot. Very, very big. Okay, and they do a lot more than that. I'm not giving them enough credit. $1 billion company, massive. Well, there was a woman, young woman on there, and she's showing this high-end life of her living with her fiance in a gorgeous penthouse in Manhattan, looking over Manhattan. I mean, just beautiful. Her furniture, her stuff. Then they run out and they buy this gorgeous house out in the country. It's probably Long Island or, Westchester, who knows. A lot of acreage. And, she's just, look at us young people. We're making it, and, we're doing the best we can. And here we are. If we could do it, you could do it kind of vibe. And the people find out who she is. She's marrying into the Asplund family. Of course you're going to be able to afford these things. That's deceptive. This is what I call it Kardashian nonsense. Where you really didn't do anything to earn it. You just have it for whatever reason. Not really sure why. This frustrates a lot of people. Okay, and young people are watching this. It makes it very hopeless for them because they look at what they have, and then they look at what themselves they have. They look at what the influencer has, for example. Then they look at what they have for themselves, and they get very depressed. They get very upset. They go, how am I ever, if I only make maybe a tenth of one, not even 1% of what these people have, I'll always be a loser, which is not true, by the way. There's nothing wrong with working hard. There's nothing wrong with having a decent middle-class life. For some reason, that's been made out to be like a curse. Okay. And we need to change that influence on society. And I think it's changing on its own. That's how good God is. Because the truth always comes out. Now, that's what me and Tracy are going to talk about this afternoon, is that there is a big, massive, and I've been saying this for a while, we've been saying this for a while. If you look at all the events that are happening, you would have to be paying attention to something like X regularly, looking at the news morning, afternoon, night, which is what I do, and checking how things are changing. Events are changing. Who's getting arrested? Who's getting indicted? Who's running to Europe? What celebrity now is moving to Europe? What's going on? What's being exposed? Who's being shown for their true colors? This is constant. Wait, and who's threatening who? We just lost somebody from that he was found, unalived in front of his home, and he is a reporter for Alex Jones. Big city. Why him? And it seems like it was a target. And that's major. And if you look at the events surrounding it, it pretty much tells you that we are coming to a point where our government, under the Trump administration, is going to have to make a very tough decision. And that tough decision might be something similar to a communication shutdown or a shutdown altogether. Military action. I wouldn't blame them. I could see it almost looks as if they're going to have no choice. When that happens, though, and the truth comes out about a lot of things that we've been watching all our lives on television, on the news, mainstream, what have you. And we see that we've been lied to the whole time. And that's including the young people with the influencers on all these platforms, especially TikTok. They're going to want to know the truth. They're going to want to look for the truth. They're going to want to have the truth. They're not going to want to be lied to. No one wants to be lied to. Okay? They just don't like it. You feel like a fool when you've been lied to. It's going to be very difficult to trust the people who talk like, the mainstream, who sounds like, as I've said in the past, Captain Kirk from Star Trek. They speak a certain way. They look a certain way. Listen to the local news just for like a minute, and you'll pick up on you. You'll remember me saying that to you. They have a certain way of talking. They don't talk like normal people. Okay, that's 3-letter agency training right there, starting with a C. So, and that's meant to get you to believe what they're saying. That's meant to get you to believe what they're saying is believable, that they're trustworthy. Then there's an image that Hollywood's put out, that if you look a certain way, you sound a certain way, you live a certain way, you're trustworthy. This is what I'm talking about with merit, character. People now have to be judged and listened to and trusted based on merit and character. Not how you look, not what you're driving, not what you're wearing, and not because you have a certain type of speech that sounds like a robot. It has to be that you have, earned this trust because what you have said has come to pass, has been found to be the truth. And that's what I think is going to happen with a lot of these young people. I pray it's going to happen. And I pray even, the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds and maybe the early 40s, where their heads are just up their rear ends because they're so busy watching reality TV or just the garbage that's on television right now. And that's including with movies. That they get to a point where they realize that it should be put in its place, entertainment. Okay? It's just meant for entertainment. If there's something within that entertainment that's meant to harm, like witchcraft, like spells, being casted on people, like there's an agenda being pushed, the public needs to reject it. When will they be able to reject it? When they even know that it exists. You mention the words Operation Mockingbird to a person walking down the street, they're going to look at you like you got three heads. They have no idea what that is. Most people that are listening to my voice right now may not even know. But that's okay. That's fine. I found on TikTok, we did a little experiment, me and Tracy. And we found that on TikTok, if we're talking about the truth, if we're trying to lay down the truth, and the truth is important of the events that are happening now, because major changes are about to take place. You may not be able to jump on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook Messenger, or any of those things to get your answers when that truth hits the wall. You know what I mean? When it hits your front door, you may not be able to go and get those answers. You may have to face it on your own. And when that happens, I hope that we've at least given you enough truth, and I'm doing air quotes with my fingers right now, to be able to understand what's happening, that it won't freak you out. Okay? If you weren't paying attention and that's what happens, well, okay, we'll see you on the other end. But what we did was we did an experiment. Now, we had found that every time that we talked about things that were important, that were truth, that were preparing people for what was coming, maybe 30 people would show up in the chat. Maybe. Okay? But if I came on and talked about drama and, John Paul Miller or Micah or anybody that's fighting within those troops, the Justice for Micah people and the Justice or the Flying Monkeys for GP, and we would talk about that, the numbers would go up. Oh, they'd be flying up, flying up, flying up, as if the algorithms were calling out, hey, there's some drama going on over here. Sure enough, we gave it a shot yesterday afternoon, and 107 people showed up in the chat. It's like people want to be distracted by nonsense. People want to be distracted by drama. They just love it. They love the yelling and the fighting and who's fighting with each other, who's calling each other names, and what new drama is happening. And that's, whatever. You love soap operas, that's your thing. But don't get upset when the time comes where everything has communications, internet, platforms are not there for you to get your answers, to get your fix. And you're going to have to figure it out yourself. That day is coming. We've been warning and warning and warning people for I don't know how long. And we're going to explain that this afternoon when Tracy and I get together. We will come onto YouTube to let you guys know, hey, here we are. We're going to go on Rumble now and talk. You're invited. We'll give you the handle, the username on how to find us on Rumble. And then we're going to talk about it openly without having to speak in code, without having to be careful of what we're going to say on Rumble. And if you want to know the truth, that's what we'll be. If you really want to know, if you're an adult and you can handle what's happening, if you care about your money, if you care about your future, if you care about your kids' future, if you care about your grandkids' future, if you care about the home that you bought, if you care about what's going to happen to you when you retire, if you care about your health, if you do care about your wealth, if you care about your family, if you care about our country, then you will listen. You will tune in. If you just want to fool around and listen to drama, well, then that might not be the place for you. We really need to start getting a little critical in our thinking. And I feel so bad because I feel like I get on and I just start preaching to you guys. But grow up and listen to the truth. And a lot of people have said, well, it's all conspiracy theory. Please name me one conspiracy theory that has not come to pass. I'll wait. See, there isn't one. That's the whole point. And what's happening is the actual, and I'm doing air quotes again because you can't see me, conspiracy theories, they're getting bigger and bigger and more outlandish, which is making it more and more difficult for the person who's always paying attention to nonsense understand what's going on. We're trying to help you. Okay, I expect that after this shutdown of communication, after this all happens, maybe you'll look for us on the other side. Let me tell you something. If you care about the Micah Miller case, for example, if Micah Miller is what you're looking for justice and that's all you think about, and she absolutely deserves justice, and you're sad that I don't cover it anymore, it's not that I'm not covering it. Okay? I'm sorry, forgive me. That was my phone. It's not that I'm not covering. I've said that I'm waiting for the next phase, and the next phase is arrests. But if you care about her and you care about the other victims, you would understand what John Paul Miller is involved with is it's not just simply a husband against a wife. If that were the case, this case would have been solved a long time ago. We would have been way past that. No, there's a lot more that the FBI is investigating about the lifestyle of John Paul Miller. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That ties into everything Tracy and I have been trying to tell you about selling humans as currency, for example. Rings of prostitution, which we know he's allegedly been involved with. He's been accused by his own wife. Predatory, behaviors. And we've got two, now almost three victims that have come forward to prove that. Okay? This is not the only church that this happens at. There's another story, if you go and look, out of Dallas, Georgia, of a young woman named Heather Turner back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, who lost her very life in the same manner as Micah Miller. The stories are so parallel, it's frightening. I watched a special that was on Amazon. It's on a few places, a few different Sundance and whatnot. But I found it on Amazon Prime. And it's called, oh, forgive me, I think it's called something about that this doesn't happen here. I'll get you that. I'll get it for you this afternoon. And it was season 1, episode 7. Anyhow, this was about this girl, Heather. If you look it up, Heather Turner, Dallas, Georgia. And it was episode 7 of season 1. It was bone chilling. She sang in the church. This was second husband. He was pastor. He had been married before. So was she. He had something to do with her and her first husband, counseling and whatnot. They started to have an affair. They ran off and eloped. I mean, just on and on and on. Now, the only differences that I saw was that they were seemingly happy. They were very good at putting up, on social media, like a lot of people do. Social media is a big fat lie in a lot of places, where there's all these pictures of them being happy and smiling and with these kids. Meanwhile, she was found getting out of the shower, mind you, May 4th, 2017. She had just taken a shower. She's getting out of the shower. Now she just decides to allegedly take herself out the way Micah Miller did. Why would you take a shower? Would you take a shower? She was also planning on leaving. That plan was already, she was leaving her husband, who was found to be abusive. And that was proven because of a relationship that he was in after her death with the nanny. And the nanny came and went, ended up in court and saying he's very abusive. He's very, very, things that he said and done were just as disgusting and despicable as John Paul Miller. So I urge you to go look up that story. And I urge you to go find whatever you can find that talks about any kind of documentary or whatnot. I'll see if I can find something that I can put on Rumble for you so that you can see it. I think something is also on YouTube. So if you just search it out, Heather Turner from Dallas, Georgia. And so these women who are going through these churches, they belong to these churches, and they got these husbands who look like, and talk like and walk like and give the image of being godly men. And they're involved with some really bad stuff and have high connections. This is all tied into everything the Trump administration is fighting. Would you like to know why Doge is Doge? Because the best way to get these people, these types, out of their powerful positions is bankrupt them. See, the people who've been bankrolling these abusive men and the law enforcement agencies, judges, and lawyers that support them is to bankrupt them. Make sure they never bankroll these abusers again. It's all tied in. And if you could just look at all of the truth, you'd see it. It's not as if we've walked away from Micah Miller. We're fighting for this truth to come forward for her sake, so that this never happens again, for Heather Turner's sake, so that they all get justice, because their lives were shortened, because these men are in the system, have abused the system, and the system is supporting them in their position, protecting them from jail, protecting them from consequence. Now, John Paul Miller will see justice. I'm sorry, but he will get it. It's now there's no way of getting away from it. Okay? It's too late for him. He might as well at this point give up. I've even heard rumor that Charles Randall has turned on him. I say it's rumor, but it's a good one. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody ends up, taking immunity and just giving him up. Somebody inside, very, very close into John Paul's circle. And, they would go to jail themselves, but they get immunity from that and spill the beans. It would be in their best interest to do so. But once again, let me reiterate, the reason why Tracy and I support or push this truth, I'm doing air quotes again, is because it's all related. It's all connected. Okay? They make their money. Think about it. Do you really believe that John Paul Miller makes 10 grand? No, I'm sorry. He claimed in my lawsuit he made $100,000 a month. Do you really think all those people were paying that much in tithe? I mean, let's be real for a minute. There's been studies, there's statistical studies that are done annually. It's a Christian study, and I can't remember who runs it, but it's a Christian one. And they do statistic studies on how many Christians throughout the country truly pay tithe and offering on a regular basis. And it's between 20 and 28%. So if that's the case, ask yourself this. How did John Paul Miller become so wealthy? Where was he getting $100,000 a month? Yes, he's got the bar. True. That's true. What pastor owns a bar that you know of? Okay. If only 20 to 28% pay tithe and offering, how did Kenneth Copeland become worth $70 million? How did that happen? Don't tell me his books are so great that people are they're just running off the shelf. Oh my gosh, I got to have a Kenneth Copeland book. Come on. Think about it. This is what critical thinking is. When you question something as simple as going, how did he get so wealthy? Same thing goes for the congresswomen and men that we have in the Capitol right now who are being investigated by Doge because they only make, or supposed to make, around $200,000 a year. How did you become a multi-millionaire? If we don't question these things, it's just going to keep going on and on and on. And then they're going to have the power and the influence to be even more and more abusive, and more people's lives are affected, like Micah, like Heather, and so many others. We have to wake up, because it could be me and it could be you, or it could be somebody we love. And so this has to end. This modern day Babylon has literally touched, like tentacles, every aspect of our lives. We would be absolutely fooling ourselves and lying to ourselves if we were to say, no, it hasn't. Name one thing that this cabal has not touched or ruined on us, tried to ruin. Remember, this group of people wanted to depopulate us. It was an agenda. Okay? Remember that. So that is my, you can call it a rant. It really isn't. I just kind of gave you some updates, weekly updates that, like I said, they're constant. And if you want to keep up with them, if you're like, Gian, I want to know what's going on daily. If the changes are happening so quickly and so often, I want to know what they are. Well, I suggest you make yourself a free account on X, which is formerly known as Twitter. And when you do, you don't have to follow anybody. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to do anything. Just click on the news inside X. You will be amazed at what you find. It's going to be the same news I'm looking at. Now, you can follow certain people if you wish. You know, the president's on there. Doge is on there. Elon Musk is on there. Alina Habba is on there. Kash Patel is on there. Pam Bondi is on there. You know, so I'm on there. So Tracy's on there. So a lot of people who are interested in knowing what's going on in their actual life is on there. And you will know what's going on moment by moment. Anyhow, thank you guys for who has joined me. I've got Vivian, BB, Carrie Ann. Thank you for joining in the chat. And God bless you guys. Have a great day. Please stay safe. Stay blessed. We will be back this afternoon, just having a convo, me and Tracy. It's going to be very real. And so I'm letting you know that now. And because of that, we will come on YouTube, as I said, and we will let you guys know that we're on. We will invite everybody on YouTube over to Rumble, and that's where the conversation will be happening. For everyone else watching this in the aftermath, as I said, I hope you join us later. We will be back later on this afternoon, probably 1 or 2 o'clock. I don't know. This is up to Tracy. Eastern Standard Time. Just look for us. There may be some sort of an announcement beforehand. But anyway, until we see you again, until we talk again, God bless. Stay safe.